Yo, what's up guys? This is Captain Daniel Kim, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about what every guy probably wants when he watches anything about confidence, anything about dating, anything about having a girlfriend. What? So what is that? Every man wants this, and you won't deny this. To all the men who are watching this video, everyone, every man wants the most beautiful girl. Okay, every man, and we're talking about physically, right? Let's just take away the personality and all the other stuff, all the other positives of women on the side, real quick, and think about the most beautiful women in the world, right? Every man probably covets and seeks the validation of the most beautiful women in the world. So the question is, how do you get the most beautiful women in the world? So I'm talking about like, so we all, I think men universally accepted, and this is from my personal experience when I talk to my friends or any guys I meet, we all can know who the most beautiful girl is. And in a recent experience of mine, I was in a group of friends of women and men, and we all knew. I don't know about men, to be honest. I don't know who's the most attractive guy. I guess you could always feel like who's the most alpha guy and whatever like that by the height, by his build, and maybe his looks and everything like that. But I'm not. I'm not physically attracted to men, so I wouldn't know who the most attractive guy is. Sometimes maybe I know, like, okay, I'm in a room, it's like you could tell like who's giving the guy the most attention. But in terms of women, I think every single man knows who's the most attractive. Like, yes, everyone has a preferred type, but when you're in a room, most men know, unless the girls are evenly physically attractive, who the most attractive girl is. And so I was in a scenario where I knew who the most attractive woman was, and there's only one. There's the top seed, right? She was number one of, I don't even know how many girls there were, right? And how I knew was because my heart was like, whoa, dang, she's gorgeous, right? She's beautiful. And one thing I've been trying to figure out is to not put beautiful women on a pedestal, right? The reason why most men can't get beautiful women is because we put them on a above pedestal, and that's probably one of the main reasons why we can't get the girl, okay? Because the moment you put a girl who's so beautiful, right, and you say the word beautiful, you put her in something called excessive importance or excess importance. And the moment you put meaning behind her because she's beautiful, you have all these prejudices or all these things that come up about her, right? So you think, oh, she's beautiful, so she wants probably money. She probably has a very extravagant lifestyle. She probably has a boyfriend. All these BS excuses, and it's all dependent on the guy. Excuse me, real quick. Got to turn on the AC because it's hot. So, beautiful girl. The moment you see a beautiful girl, most men have their own prejudice, but it's actually kind of interesting. Like the way a guy sees a beautiful girl, especially if you haven't dated a lot of beautiful women, you all have these prejudices, right? And even me, like one thing of me is like, what do men want, right? We want most of our lives to be stable and consistent. And one thing I realized about the most beautiful, I'm talking about the most beautiful. So let's even compare it to like the most rarest gems, right? We're talking about beautiful women who is in the ranges of, let's say in the numbering system, 8, 9, or 10, where you're just like, whoa, like literally men just look at her like, whoa, they all know, right? So was that kind of girl. And I remember I was in a room full of very high net worth individuals, and the reason I know is because some of them were my friends, and I was introduced to some of them, and I knew the girl who was very attractive also knew that this was a room full of very high net worth individuals because we kind of knew through Instagram that she knew them, and the friend who invited her hangs out with this group, so she probably knew that this group in the room was highly net worth individuals. So the point of this video I'm gonna make is, how do you get the most attractive woman? How do you attract a woman like that to be interested in you, right? That's the main goal, right? Like most men, we want beautiful women. So we want this woman or women to be attracted to us, especially in a competitive world called men, right? We as men, like, you think it was, so this is interesting, right? So I was in a room with very highly financially high net worth individuals. So you would, by association, right? I would be considered by her, I'm a highly net worth individual, right? So in that kind of room where you're assumed to have high net worth, what would separate you from all the guys, right? Because this beautiful girl, Obviously, some guys have girlfriends and everything like that, but in my view, right, how does a girl like that be attracted to me out of all the other high net worth individuals, right? You would say physical looks and everything like that, but I think when it comes to the highest level of game, where right you're playing the game, I'm talking about the game of attraction. You have to stand out somehow, and in that kind of playing field where there's very high value men and there's very high value women, how do you separate yourself from the rest? And the one thing, so I had a call with my best friend and we talked about this, right? And he's funny because he said, yeah, he's been out of the game for a while. He hasn't been really practicing the game. And he said, yeah, dude, I said, what would you in that situation where you're in dinner and there's already high value men and there's that one high value girl, right? There's only one, right? Who's considered the most attractive. Like, yes, some guys are willing to settle for the other girls, I guess you could. But for me, because of my competitive nature, I want that one girl. But the moment I put such importance on her, and you see this in dating shows a lot, right? Like some guys are okay on a dating show to get kind of like the lesser attractive, but we all know the men in that dating show wants the most attractive. And there's usually, even if you guys remember Two Out to Handle season 1 or Singles Inferno season 1, all these dating shows, there's always that one girl that's really attractive. And in that kind of playing field, so in those dating shows, obviously the guy who's also the most physically attractive will get the girl because, and usually height plays a part if the guy's really tall and he has a really big presence. But I'm talking about in the modern world where you don't have to just use your looks. You can use your money, you can use your status, and you can use everything else to obviously attract that girl. So I was asking my best friend how he would do it. He said, yo, bro, if I had the money, I'll just flex. I would order the most expensive thing. I'll order champagne, I'll order caviar. I'm like, that, and I was like, bro, that wouldn't work because in that room, you flexing like you're like the guy with the biggest, the cojones, I guess the balls. You showing you just obnoxiously telling everyone you have the biggest, so you spend the most, shows you obviously you're the most insecure out of everyone in that group. Like I realized in that room, no one was trying to flex. If you're truly wealthy, no one really tries to show wealth because you already know you're wealthy. Why do you show something that you already have? So I was thinking, and me and him was like, let's actually be logical about this. How do I separate myself from the rest? Yes, and we said one thing is looks, right? If looks is the thing, but the looks has to be interesting because since there's only one very beautiful girl, the very beautiful girl has to find your looks the most attractive. Because women, lucky for us, is not as shallow. Every girl has a sexual archetype, the most ideal type that she wants. But if you're not that, then you don't separate yourself from the rest, right? And I do believe that in that scenario, if there was, by association, she thinks everyone's wealthy, and there's a guy who's her sexual archetype, yeah, it's over, because that guy will win, because out of all the guys, she finds him the most alpha, because all things considered even, she finds him the most physically attractive. But in that scenario, there was no guy I think she found physically attractive, just based on her behavior and everything like that. So then what's next? The next step I would say is game, right? It's called social skills, right? If you can show in the group, by the time you're spending time in that group eating dinner or with drinks or whatever, what are you doing? You show you're the most alpha, you're the most social, you're the little guy who leads the group. I think that's a way to now separate yourself from the gang, right? Out of all the other highly net worth, wealthy individuals, you're the guy who stands out the most. So I think that's probably one of the most, how do I say, what's the word, most not efficient, but like I guess natural, but that would be the most obvious way for most normal individuals. So most guys who are watching this video, that would probably be the most easiest way, probably the best way, but I think the probability of still getting her in that scenario is not very high. Like in that one instant, in that one moment of dinner or and what you do after at the bar, I don't think she would still be super attracted to you. Maybe she'd be interested, and then you could find a way to get her number, Instagram, and then message her later. But I don't think she'll be hooked. And in game, we call this the hook point, right? There's a general hook point and sexual hook point. But in that scenario, I think she'll be genuinely hooked, where she'll be like, okay, I'll get your Instagram, we'll talk, but she won't be interested, right? And for me, when it comes to the game of attraction, I also want to be efficient in terms of time. I want to get her attracted to me as soon as possible. So when I teach my date routine to my clients, a lot of my clients are like, yeah, yeah, how many dates does it take to be, physically intimate with her or get to that kissing point or make her like me? So for me, I say try to do it in the first date. I actually believe that the faster you get her to like you or make some kind of emotional, physical investment on the first date, the rest becomes easier. The rest becomes where you can become more of yourself and you can do more natural game, because that's what a lot of clients want, right? In the end, they just want to be themselves and be liked for being themselves. So in this scenario, I was thinking, okay, I could do the general hook point where she's genuinely attracted to me by being the socially game. I could do my natural game because I'm a dating coach. I could do certain buying temperature spikes to spike her emotion, make everyone laugh, and be the guy who's sociable and whatever. But I actually think I actually found out what's the best and most efficient and the way that takes the least amount of time to get a girl to be pretty much sexually attracted to you, where she's like, wow, who is this guy? I want to get to know him. I want to chase him. Okay? So how do you do that? Right? Especially in this modern world where you're going to be in scenarios where you're going to be with other guys. And if you truly want to become alpha or this very high value guy, you're going to have to surround yourself with other high value guys. So how do you separate yourself from other high value guys, right? So for example, I do know in this room, like I said, I'm talking about very high net worth individuals. And by association, people assume you're equal, right? So in this way, I think, this is my personal belief, and this is where me and my friend were talking about, was once you get to a point where you have financial resources, like we all know this, right? Financially, why I don't teach to get more money to get girls is because there's always going to be a guy with a bigger bank account than you, right? And in terms of looks, yeah, I help you guys looks max, how you help my clients get better looking, but there's always going to be a better looking guy than you. And trust me, I know this because that's the world we live in. And now because I'm in modeling, I actually model. I realized there's always going to be a guy who's better looking than you, and you just can't win. What are you going to do? Plastic surgery? You can't do plastic surgery because the moment you do plastic surgery, there's still going to be a guy better looking, and the physical looks change per year about trending what looks good and what doesn't. So then I realized the next step, and this is where actually the old school guys, the old school dating coaches taught this, is here's the answer: it's fame. I know I took a while to get here because I had to give you the background of this. Fame is actually what will trump everything. And Dan Bilzerian talks about this. Iman Ghazi talks about this. A lot of guys talk about fame. Even I think Andrew Tate talks about this. Fame is what really is a separator of the guy who gets the most beautiful women versus guys who just get beautiful women here and there. I'm talking about getting beautiful women consistently, and you can see this with the top notch, right? And you're like Leonardo DiCaprio, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? The guys who are universally accepted as famous. So fame is, I would say, even this thing is like, let's say you're on a date with a girl and a guy or girls come up to you, like, oh, can we take a picture? Can you get your autograph? So let's say you're in a country, right? And no one knows who you are. I mean, the girl doesn't know who you are. They don't know what kind of celebrity you are, but you have some kind of fame, right? You have some kind of fame, but in this country, no one knows who you are. So for example, let's say I'm in Thailand right now. No one knows who I am except everyone in the States and Korea, right? But all of a sudden, I'm walking down the street, I'm on a date with this girl, and she doesn't know who I am, right? But we're just met for coffee. And then people start coming up to me, oh, can I get your autograph? Oh my God, I follow you on YouTube, I follow you on social media, you're amazing, can I get a picture of you and all that stuff? And they do that in front of the girl. And let's say in that scenario, even better, let's make that scenario in that restaurant where I was with other individuals who were highly net worth, financially, they were all high value. Let's say in that moment, people come into the restaurant and they want to take pictures with me, right? No one knows who I am, especially that beautiful girl. She doesn't even know who I am. She just knows my name because I was introduced. But let's say people start coming up to me like, oh, can I take a picture? Can I take you? Then all of a sudden, I just piqued her interest. She believes that I'm some kind of man with a fame or celebrity, right? And the moment I show her social media or I see why I'm famous, now she's officially hooked. Do you know what I'm saying? So now I am officially the new peak of interest from all the other guys in the group. I am the man who she wants to know, not even just maybe not sexually, but very she wants to get to know me just even as a human, like who is this guy, where people are coming up to get her. And now that just separated me from all the guys were equal, right? We all by association were considered highly value men, high net worth individuals. But now because of fame, I just beat them above the rest. And this is something you saw, you see this in sports especially, right? They say, like, at the time, there's a documentary called The Redeem Team. You could watch it on Netflix, or even The Last Dance by Michael Jordan, right? Yes, Michael Jordan was the most alpha, right? He was the whole high skilled. He was the best player in the world at the time. But this is an interesting fact about Kobe. So Kobe, before he won his first championship without Shaq. So I don't know if you guys know who Kobe Bryant is. But at the time, when Kobe actually won his first championship, there was a huge debate in America that LeBron James versus Kobe, who's better. But in China, like Kobe Bryant was the alpha, was a true alpha because the population in China deemed him as the most famous. Like they wanted to get to know him, they wanted to take pictures with him. People went crazy over China, right? So even though LeBron James in America was equally even in terms of like who's the most famous, Kobe Bryant blew him out of the world in terms of the world, right? So obviously his team probably helped him market there. It's probably his shoes were better in China, but was something about Kobe made him more alpha in China. And then that's why all the athletes probably on that team, on the dream team or the basketball team, USA team still viewed viewed Kobe as the number one. So what I'm saying is that if you guys want to, and this is the next level, and I'm going to try it. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there because me and my friend talked about it. Once we have enough resources, we're going to actually focus on the resources get us famous. Because actually, fun fact, you know, in previous videos, I tell you guys, dating has been easier than ever, right? But now I truly believe that becoming famous is easier than ever because of social media. You could actually create a fan base out of nowhere. You could just talk, if you have a certain personality, if you're authentic, podcast, Instagram, TikTok, everything. So you can actually, you see these guys from like these, who's that short guy? Mazbula? I don't know what his name is. That short guy who got really famous in the MMA world. He goes around and he got really rich from it. I guarantee you he somehow gets laid because he's a short, cute little kid-looking guy, but he's famous. You know what I'm saying? He's around celebrities and constantly like that. So I think the next level now, it's never been possible when I first started this thing called game. But now I do think status is a way to take your game to the next level and using social media to do it. So if you're watching this and you want to date the most beautiful women, I'm talking about the most beautiful, like you literally, they walk into the room, you're like, whoa. You kind of get like, oh, right? To do get that and to get their attention, now I think you have to have some kind of status. You have to have some kind of status where even though there's a room full of high value men, because of the fame and people look up to you, people admire you, that takes you to the next level of high value. So this is more advanced, and if you watch this video, I know I talked more, and I might have rambled, you think, but I had to tell you everything to tell you the context of the situation, because some of you guys are beginners, some of you guys are intermediate, but the advanced guys will know what I'm talking about. Because when you get to a point where dating, you're attracting women pretty consistently, but I would say they're like average women, like women that you kind of find like, okay, they're pretty attractive, and you're kind of like, we call it hitting above your belt, below your belt, or hitting at your level, right? So if you're advanced, you're probably hitting at your level right now, like the women in terms of attraction, you guys are at the same level, and maybe you hit above your belt a little bit. I mean, if you're hitting below your belt, that probably means that you got to up your game a little bit. But right now, I'm at a point where I'm hitting at my level and maybe a little bit above. But for me to get to the highest level, I have to become famous. I have to have some kind of status to separate myself from all the other high value men. So I hope this video helps guys to explain, if you really want the most beautiful woman in the world, you really have to up your game. You can't just be rich, you can't just have game. I think status is now a requirement to get the most beautiful women, in terms of like getting them to be attracted to you. I think that's the next level, and I'll keep you updated how that goes. I'm gonna try it out and we'll see how it goes. All right guys, it's been a pleasure. Captain Dan.